Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak. And so what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to talk about a few things about tectonic plates. Tectonic plates are like the pieces of the puzzle that just keep our planet together at all costs. But you know what? I feel like there's a few things that are just wrong with them firsthand. Because for the most part, the fault lines are basically the little gaps that are pretty much just separating the pieces there. They mainly serve as active chains for volcanoes to be set in, simply because layers of magma tend to be set underneath these plates. And of course, when the magma reaches such a high level, it just becomes lava. As soon as it hits the surface, that's when we consider it as lava. But magma, of course, is just when it's sitting below the surface. And so, I'm just going to say real quick that, of course, we already do know about the Ring of Fire, because the entire plate of the Pacific Ocean, it already does serve as a huge handy function for volcanoes out there to be set upon. And the Ring of Fire has already been established because of this fact. There have been tons of volcanoes we have gotten over the last few hundred years or so, and I mean a ton. Even though there have been hardly any eruptions that took place in recent years, there's still a good likelihood that we might have ourselves an eruption set to place. Even though it might not happen for a really long time because of dormant ones, or ones that are just not as active out there as they used to be. With the cases of ones like Mount Vesuvius, Mount St. Helens, Mount Fuji, and Mount Pinatubo, there are so many recorded cases out there, revolving around human history, that is. But supposedly out there, besides volcanoes, earthquakes and tremors, that's another thing out there we'd probably have to look out for based on how our tectonic plates behave every day. But for the most part, the tectonic plates that we seem to do have ourselves, they tend to move super slowly, at less than an inch in around a year. At least it's what rough estimates seem to conclude. But of course, the kind of land masses that we have on ourselves, this whole world itself, the land masses seem to be moving absolutely slowly. So every few decades we might get ourselves a couple of feet worth of movement from these land masses, but there's a lot of skepticism revolving around how one point later on, within a few thousand years or so, we might have all of our countries, all of our continents combined together once again to form a new Pangea. And even though it might not be possible for a really long time, there's still the likelihood that that might happen. Though, of course, other than just earthquakes, tremors, volcanoes, and the like that can occur because of tectonic plate behavior, there's many other things that I could probably just talk about, like tsunamis. Now there's another one right there that you probably had no idea about. But tsunamis, of course, they aren't really just revolving around things like earthquakes or volcanoes or even avalanches, like the collapsing of landslides and the like, but of course, tsunamis can definitely be played around by tectonic plate movements, mainly because if a tectonic plate collision was made, in the point in which that would cause an earthquake or a tremor, then of course a tsunami would actually come into play, really. Mainly because of the fact that, of course, if you're near an ocean, like in the Atlantic or Pacific or Indian, then there is still the likelihood that a tsunami would actually come around. But if we're not very familiar with the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunamis, those were immensely dangerous. And of course, the causes of the tsunamis, those are just one thing to talk about. But other than all of this, it's still, likelihood of anything horrible happening with tectonic plates. Even though I've already mentioned a few things that are common about tectonic plate behavior that we have every day, there's still lots of things that we probably have to spend some time doing research and probably recording to figure out exactly how tectonic plate behaviors can affect everyday lives around them. And so, I'd probably just leave that all up to you, but anyone who does study them regularly, probably hit me up with a few things that you probably know about tectonic plates, but If you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.